a huge statement game. We talked about North Haven, Steve, as being a statement game because, we had played some good teams like the St. Joe's, and Greenwich, and, kind of fuddled around a little bit and eventually put them away. But we didn't play start to finish the way we thought we could, and we certainly did that against North Haven.
Right, so you're coming in on a high, and you had a soft schedule down the stretch until North Haven, which was kind of a blessing there, and you aced that test. So so they must be galloping into the headlong crash with the Rams at top velocity, no?
Yeah, there's they're playing with confidence. They also realize that this is the best opponent, all right, that they faced yet. Mm-hmm. So, the 10 wins that are in the W column right now, to this team mean nothing because they know they're facing their toughest opponent, and they've got to, I'll go back and say it, Steve, they've got to bring their A game.
Right.
Because if Darien shows up with a B game and New Canaan pitches an A game, the programs are that close, all right, that New Canaan's going to come out on top, or vice versa. What'll be interesting for the fans is if they both bring their A game. And then don't ask me for a prediction, because then it's just, the way the ball bounces.
Yeah, 10,000 screaming fans. What's it going to feel like when you walk in there, thinking back to '08, and here we go again? And
right. Well, here's the difference, is that in '08, and I've told people this, again, we hadn't been there in close, to 7 or 8 years, close to a decade. Mm-hmm. And, the year before we're 5-5 or whatever we are. And then now all of a sudden on Thanksgiving Day, we come out of the locker room and there's 10,000 screaming fans. Our kids were deer in the headlights. Mm-hmm. And New Canaan had been there.
Yeah.
They had won, 3 or 4 state championships in a row. So to them, yeah, they were excited, and fired up that there were 10,000, but they were used to it, and we weren't.
Right.
You go back to that game, and it was 21-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Yes.
And then in the fourth quarter, we're, in the red zone trying to tie the game.
Right. It was close in the end. Yes.
Now fast forward to 2014. Now both teams have been there, done that. Yes, they're both going to be excited to play in front of 10,000, but I don't sense any deer in the headlights for either team. I mean, obviously they've been there plenty of times, and now that we've been there, our kids are obviously much more used to it than they were in '08.
And then again, Rob, it is Thanksgiving, and things are supposed to come in threes, and maybe a really good thing's going to come in threes this year.
Yeah, we certainly hope so, and, we'll be fighting like dogs, to get there, and so will they. As you know, they're a wonderful, storied program with tremendous tradition. And if you think for a second, Steve, that they want to lose a third Turkey Bowl in a row, they're going to be fighting for their lives, so to speak. So I think it'll be an entertaining game, for everyone except for Marinelli and Trifone, who are going to need, about a month off.
Yeah, you're going to have to, Pepto the turkey down. If it doesn't, whichever way it goes, somebody's going to end up with the Pepto with this one. I could see it. Actually, I feel something really horrible but great for the fans coming on, talking about Pepto and turkey gravy. Would we go to overtime? Would we line up?
Well, and again, I think if both teams bring their A game, it's a possibility. In FCIAC championship history, I don't know if you know this, Steve, but there's only been one team ever to go to overtime, and that was Brian McMahon, coached by yours truly, and that was 1994, and we were 7-7 deadlocked at the end of 4 quarters versus Wilton, and Wilton, wins the toss and takes the ball first. And they score and kick the extra point, so now it's 14-7 in overtime. We get the ball second, and we score in the third play, a little pass in the flat to Idris Price. And then our kicker, who had missed 2 field goals during regulation, I turned to him earlier before the extra point, and I said, Tommy, are you ready? And he didn't answer right away, and I said to my, offensive coordinator on the headset, I said, get ready because we're going for two.
Oh.
So we knew that before we even scored that I wasn't going to put the game in the hands of a kicker who, was, again, deer in the headlights.
Mm-hmm.
So we went for two and scored and won 15-14.
Oh, my God.
In 1994, okay, here's other interesting history, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first year that the FCIAC went to the Thanksgiving Day games.
Yeah.
Prior to 1994, the Thanksgiving Day game always was the FCIAC championship.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided to take the FCIAC championship and put it on Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. And it feels like it could be really close, this one, too, quite possibly. So, my goodness. Right, so now it could come back to that again. Just a last little thing. Do you want to talk about the possibilities of changes in the schedule next year? We could have a Thanksgiving FCIAC game, championship game for some time now, if it fell that way with the new scheduling next year.
Right. Well, I think, we had a meeting the other night as a league, and to a man, I think all the head coaches want to preserve the FCIAC championship.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how we do that has not been mapped out yet.
Right.
Because the state wants to hold us to 10 maximum games.
Mm-hmm.
So, personally, I would rather see, the FCIAC play 11 games.
Yes.
or at least 10, and
yeah.
11 if you qualify for the FCIAC championship, and then play 2 rounds of the states. I know there's no perfect formula.
Right. There's not. No, it's going to be a big puzzle.
Right. Don't, on one hand, take away a league game, and on the other, add a state game.
No, that's not too logical. That's 6 of one and half dozen of God knows what.
Again, as a football coach, you want to play as many games as possible.
Yes.
I don't
yeah.
want to go into a season and play 9 games.
Right.
As it is, you look at all these other sports, and I know it's not a fair comparison, but lacrosse plays 25 games.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I play 9.
Yeah, no, for all that effort and all that goes into it, no.
Right. So,
no.
I'm certainly not one who wants to play, 8 or 9 or even 10 games. I mean, everyone wants to play 12 or 13 or, et cetera. But we'll see what happens. And
94 was that's the only time that FCIAC championship went to, what do you call it? It's not overtime.
Well, it's called Kansas City overtime. Don't ask me why.
Okay.
So what happens is, you flip a coin and one team takes the ball and, the other plays defense. So you both get equal tries. So, if Darien takes the ball and kicks a field goal and then New Canaan takes, their turn and kicks a field goal, then you go to a second overtime. And you keep going, to overtimes until somebody scores more points than the other guy. But each team gets 4 downs, first and goal from the 10.
Right.
Back in 94, the answer is, so now we are losing 14-13, and we have the option of kicking the extra point and going to a second overtime, or, going for the 2 points. Mm-hmm. So after, Trifone taking 2 timeouts, and back then Fujitani taking 2 timeouts. Mm-hmm. So, it must have been forever for the fans, but we end up running a sweep around our left end with a back by the name of Jason Hall. Mm-hmm. And the thing that, amazed the fans back then is the best player on our team by far was Idris.
Idris, yeah.
Who obviously played in the NFL. So everyone in the stadium figured, okay, they're going to hand the ball to Idris. Mm. And instead we handed it to Jason Hall. And during one of the second timeouts, of course, here I am, second-guessing myself, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, should I give it to Idris?
Mm.
And then I turned to Jason and I said, look, Jason, I said, I believe in you. I said, I know you're going to score. He said, Coach, there's no one's going to stop me. He said, just trust me, hand me the ball. And he got hit at the 2-yard line by by an outside linebacker. I couldn't tell you his name, 20 years later, but I mean a solid, shoulder tackle, and ran him over, and rolled into the end zone. So, and as history will have it, all right, everyone will be the first to tell you, if Jason Hall gets tackled at the 1, all right, I'm probably the GOAT for the next 20 years. But, as Jason Hall rumbles into the end zone, people have forgotten even who carried the ball or what the play was, but not me.
Well, now it's from GOAT to Ram, and we'll have to see if the Rams end up the GOAT or not on this one. But I'd be looking over my shoulder if I was them, because this program came a long way, turned the corner in 2008, and now it looks like it's coming down the home stretch, quite possibly in 2014, and we'll have to see.
Yeah. All right, Steve.
Okay.
Let me get off because
Thanks for all your time, Rob. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Bye-bye now.
Okay, bye.
Okay.